Hi, everybody. Good evening. I'd like to welcome you all to the 2022 Southern Georgia Bay Chamber of Commerce Midland Town Council All Candidates Forum. Thank you to the candidates who have joined us this evening. Great to see a big list running this year. Last night we were doing the tiny All Candidates Forum too, and it was also a good group of a good number of candidates as well, which is great to see. To begin, I'd like to introduce the candidates in alphabetical order. First, we have Roberta Bald, Jamie Lee Ball, Glenn Canning, Jim Downer, Sheldon East, Tom Garzinski, Ben Gorski, apologize if I don't get it right, Bob Jeffrey, Katherine E. Mcdonald, Eric Howie Major, Carol Mcginn, Bill Meredith, Beth Marie Prost, Frank Valtalero, and Matthew Vaders, or Vaders, I guess. Is that Vaders?
Yeah, it's Vaders.
Okay. My name is Peter Costu, and I will be this evening's moderator. My goal tonight is to allow the candidates the opportunity to present and inform you of their platform. I'll now go over the agenda for this evening's meeting, which will consist of introductions, questions, and closing statements. The introduction by the candidates will be a maximum of 1 minute. Next will be the questions, which have been pre-submitted and then previewed by all the candidates. Answers will have 1 minute time limit. In terms of vetting the questions, they were selected from a variety of submitted questions of various topics. Many good questions and many valid concerns were submitted, but unfortunately, due to the time constraints, we could not ask them all. Finally, there will be a concluding speech from each candidate. There will be a 1 minute time limit for this, and that will be it. A bell will ring 15 seconds before your time is up and rung twice when the time has expired. I think actually the first ring is like a tone or some sort on the phone. Is that right? It's going to be, yeah. And then the bell, the final expiry bell. I should note that you're welcome to use your time as you wish by answering the questions or responding to the candidates. Feel free to do it as you wish in every 1 minute. I tried to make it as short as I could, and without further delay, I'd like to hand over the mic to our tonight's first candidate for their opening remarks. And it's in alphabetical order. So we'll start with Roberta Bald.
Okay. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I was a Crown prosecutor, but now I'm retired. Before that, I was a geologist and traveled across Canada working for various exploration companies. My father lived in Penetang until World War II started, and he joined the Navy and went overseas. After the war, he found work in Northern Ontario and met my mother, who was French Canadian. They settled in the Sudbury area, and that's where I grew up. I completed a geology degree at Laurentian University and worked for a year, then moved to Winnipeg and earned a Master of Science in Geology at the University of Manitoba. I started a family in 1990, and in 1994, I went to law school. Thank you.
Thanks, Roberta. Next, we'll go to Jamie Lee Ball.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining tonight. My name is Jamie Lee Ball. I'm a mother to 3 boys, and when I'm not with them, I sit on both local and regional boards, focusing on inclusive programming for youth and adults. I love Midland as a community, and I've been lucky to meet many passionate and intelligent people choosing to reside here. I started a local parents group 7 years ago that runs community events. For the last few years, it has been based online, supporting residents and local businesses as much as possible. I want to focus on bringing inclusive, affordable family and adult programming to residents, develop training programs and job development, focus on affordable housing solutions, and bring focus to better utilizing community spaces. As an involved community member, I see the value Midland has to offer, and I have the knowledge of fund allocation and programming to utilize hardworking dollars to create a town that residents are proud of. Midland has so much potential for creating community events and spaces, and I hope to be a part of council that will listen to the community and bring the ideas of the residents into practice.
Great, thanks, Shirley. Next, we'll have Glenn Canning.
Hello, I'm Glenn Canning. I'm a small business owner and employer in our downtown. And as a small business person, I am very sensitive to the effects that taxes and service creep has upon my viability of my business, my ability to provide employment opportunities for some of the people in our town. I'm also very concerned about the accessibility of affordable housing. As a parent, I'm worried about where my son is going to find to live in the future. These are just two of the issues that have brought me to this campaign. If elected, that's what I'm going to be working towards. Keeping fiscal responsible government running, maintaining a sustainable economy, and of course, working towards reducing the red tape that is interfering and causing trouble, creating affordable housing. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn. And next we'll go to Jim Downer.
Hello, I'm Jim Downer and would love the opportunity again to serve on the Midland Town Council. There are a lot of decisions to be made in the next 4 years, and they need the experience and leadership to best represent all the people of Midland. With my 20 years of council experience at every level, municipal and county, boards and commissions, I know I can add knowledge, strength, and individualism and support any council that I work with. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Next we'll go to Sheldon East.
Hello and thank you. My name is Sheldon East. I'm a business owner in Midland. I've been down in Midland for 10 years now. Before that, previously 13 years in Penetang. I'm a father of two children. My main goal is to look at affordable housing in Midland, and also represent the small businesses of Midland to help keep shopping easy and simple. I am a Georgian College graduate with honors, and I have helped in many local charities such as Big Brothers and Big Sisters, the Georgian Native Friendship Center, and I also volunteer for the Salvation Army on my spare time. If elected, I hope to help
Thanks, Sheldon.
bring community to
Thanks, Sheldon. Yeah, your time is up.
council to get things
I'll
moving
move on now
in
to
regards
Tom
to
Garzinski.
building affordable housing. Thank you.
Hello, fellow candidates, Chamber of Commerce members, and most importantly, all Midland residents. My name is Tom Garzinski. I'm a family man with a wife and 2 young kids. I have family roots in North Simcoe, going back 2 generations. I have a variety of professional experience, both in the public sector and in the private sector. And during my professional experience, I've had the ability to be on a variety of committees, including an active transportation committee, and I played a lead role on an environmental sustainability committee. Currently, I'm working as a continuous improvement manager at a local marina. Academically, I obtained an undergrad degree from York University, and then later on, I obtained my MBA from the University of Fredericton. I wanted to thank you, the viewer, for taking the time out of your busy life to become educated and informed on your candidates. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And next we'll go to Ben Gorski. Oh, Ben, your mute's on, Ben.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, my name is Ben Gorski and I'm running for council in Midland. I'm married and we have 4 adult children between us. Growing up in Sudbury, I didn't have any interest sticking around and follow in my father's or grandfather's footsteps in the mining industry. So I got into retail. Spent the last 40 years working in retail, developing my art of customer service and managing the business in private sector and public sector. I moved around a lot. I lived in 8 different communities in Ontario and few outside this province. When the opportunity to work in Midland came up, I jumped at the chance. My wife has a connection to Midland. As a child growing up, she lived on Dominion Avenue. We've been here for 13 years and I love the community. I'm community oriented, enjoy the outdoors, a variety of sports. I volunteered on many committees, championed several fundraising initiatives, served 12 years on the Midland Library Board. Our family and friends visit this area often, and they love what they see. Soon to retire, I'm looking forward to continue enjoying this community, and I can add my skills and experience to help our town continue to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Next we'll go to Bob Jeffrey.
We're open? Okay.
Yep, you're good to go.
Hi, I'm Bob Jeffrey, and I love Midland. I'm a retired vocational instructor from the former Penetanguishene Mental Health Center, Oak Ridge Division. I'm seeking the office of counselor, and I have some experience that I was, for a number of years, a Ward 2 counselor. I served as chair and vice chair of most committees. I decided to run for counselor because I believe all people, all residents should be represented. I'm seeing and hearing that that's not the case at the present time. It seems that the little guy is disregarded with no say or input. Being one of 9 makes embracing and championing anything difficult, but not impossible. I would suggest that at all times, all people from all sections of our community should be acknowledged in their needs and wants heard and identified. Championing is to ensure all plights are acted upon. My main 3 concerns are Midland Bay Landing, making sure it's developed properly, embracing economic development so that all residents and businesses alike will be looked after.
Sorry, Bob, we got to cut you off there, Bob.
Thank you.
Sorry, the time was up there.
That's okay.
Next is Katherine Mcdonald. Oh, I think you're muted, Katherine. No, there's an audio problem, Katherine. Okay, we'll come back to, oh, there's Katherine there. Yeah, we still can't hear you. No volume, no sound. We'll come back to you if you like. Still nothing. No. We'll come back, Katherine. We'll come back to you at the end. Okay. Next we'll go to Eric Howie Major.
Hi, I'm Howie Major. I grew up in Midland. My wife and I raised 4 kids in Midland. We've done a lot of volunteering, from Buns Kids Golf, Party on the Dock, the tugboats, Penetang Hall of Fame, Dan Snyder and Elmira. I drove a truck for Snyder Transport in Midland for 30 years. I now work at Bourgeois Motors. Between my wife and our 4 kids and I, we've been involved in hockey of some sort up at the rink for over 40 years. I've got the time and the interest in Midland now, and with my job, I probably drive around Midland more than anybody and talk to more people than anyone. So my goal, if I get on council, it'll be to listen to the concerns and needs of the people of Midland and bring it to the table. And hopefully between me and the Midland residents of Midland, we can make Midland better one day at a time.
Thanks, Eric. Next we'll go to Carol Mcginn.
Hello, bonjour, Annie. Thank you for hosting this evening tonight. I want to say well wishes to my fellow candidates and let you know it doesn't get any easier if you're an incumbent. My name's Carol. I was born in Sudbury 48 years ago. I'm a carpenter, roofer, and framer. Beautiful Midland is now my home and has been for 10 years. I visited as a youth and felt drawn here when I had all 8 kids, 1 grandchild, and foster kids under one roof. I know how to budget and recognize how decisions made today impact families later. The 4 eldest have their own homes now, and there are 3 grandkids and 1 due around election time. I'm excited. I feel gained experience and contacts I have that can be useful moving it forward as a team. Currently, I sit on the SSEA and Midland Penn Transit committees. I believe it's important to respect elders, culture, history, and engage our youth. If anyone wishes to have a copy of my responses in large AODA approved print or in French, please let me know. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Carol. And now we'll go to Bill Meredith.
Thank you for having me. My name is Bill Meredith, born and raised in Midland, and I've been in and around the business community for most of my life. I believe now is the time to step up and face the challenges that lie ahead with a strong voice for all Midland residents. 3 generations of the Meredith family have called Midland its home. After immigrating to Canada in 1954, my parents, Tom and Tina Meredith chose Midland as the place to raise their family and to build their businesses. From them, I learned the value of hard work and the importance of family and community. Following in their footsteps, my wife Paula and I have raised our family here, and we continue to build our businesses and engaged in the community here in Midland. Now I'm asking for your vote so that I can continue to support Midland in the way it deserves. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Next we go to Beth Marie Prost.
Hi, I'm Beth Prost. I'm married. I have 4 children. I've had the privilege of being your counselor for the last 4 years. And I have to say, for the most part, I've truly enjoyed it. I've enjoyed engaging with residents. I've answered your calls, your emails. I've been to your homes. And I look forward to hopefully continuing to do so. If reelected, I can't make you any promises, except I will absolutely listen. I will always listen and support you. And that's about all I can promise. There's so much to say and only a minute to do it. So thank you. Thank you for the last 4 years, and I hope to see 4 more.
Thanks, Beth. And next we'll go to Franco Vattalero.
Good evening. Sorry, I had to unmute there. I couldn't figure out how to do it. My name is Franco Vattalero, and I'm running for town council. I would like to thank the chamber for allowing us this time to meet and greet the people of Midland. I want and will be your voice at town hall. I will bring common sense, integrity, resilience, transparency, inclusion, and prosperity to and for the people of Midland. I will make time to hear the positive and negative and do what I can to influence decisions that affect us all. Servant leadership for the greater good. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. And now have Matthew Vaders.
Hi, my name is Matt Vader, and I'm running for town councillor of Midland. I have a beautiful 8-year-old girl and parents who reside in Midland. I have lived here for 25 years, attending Huron Park and St. Teresa's High School. I live and work in the area. I am currently the health and safety coordinator with CLH Developmental Support Services, where I have been for the last 14 years. I also sit on the board of directors with the Boys and Girls Club of North Simcoe. I love Midland, what it has to offer, and what it can be. I've seen it grow, and I want to be a part of that for generations to come. If elected, I'll be an active member of the community, answering your questions and bringing forth your ideas to make Midland even better.
Great, thanks, Matthew. And Catherine, do you want to give it another try?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, right on.
Great. I logged out and in. Thank you. My name's Katherine Mcdonald, not without challenges, obviously. I'm a lifelong resident in the area, a citizen of Métis Nations of Ontario, a retired office administrator, and my 21 years experience serving as a school board trustee has conditioned me to be an effective town councillor. I've been close to Midland issues for a long time. I'm aware of the time and commitment it takes to be a councillor. I have sound judgment and the ability to query issues as they arise. I have the best interest of Midland at heart. I work hard. I have an open mind, fresh eyes, and new energy. I encourage everyone to exercise their right to vote and be rewarded by electing Katherine Mcdonald, Councillor, Town of Midland. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. And thank you. That's for the introductions. That's great. Now we'll move on to the questions. These are questions that, again, have been pre-submitted by email and phone. Please note that the purpose of this forum is to enlighten us on the position of the candidates. In the past, there have been requests to make this forum into a debate format with rebuttals, but of course, we're limited by time, so we won't be doing that. I would, however, again remind candidates that they are free to use their time as they wish and free to respond to the questions and responses from their candidates in that 1 minute. The questions that we ask tonight will be ones that can be posed to all candidates. And now for the first question. In the past decade, Midland has lost many hectares of urban woodlands to developers, and many more are planned to be paved over. We now see the waterfront going down the same path. Do you believe that residents need more access to urban woodlands and water with better availability to public beaches and accessible waterfront? And we'll just roll down the list, putting the first speaker from the intros at the bottom. So now we'll start with Jamie Liebo.
Thank you. I believe residents need better availability to accessible waterfront. I think that it is a priority in almost all communities that are surrounding us. The focus of the community is the waterfront, community spaces and events. They're all centered around the waterfront as the main feature. We live on the beautiful shores of Georgian Bay, but Midland is not showcasing that. Midland's waterfront should be seen as an accessible space where there is capacity to have events such as Penetanguishene has led the way with their musical events all summer. Midland offers something similar, but the space is not able to support people comfortably nor create a community feeling.
All right, thanks, Jamie Lee. And now we'll go to Glenn Canning, and I'll repeat the question, the second half. Do you believe that residents need more access to urban woodlands and the water with better availability of public beaches and accessible waterfront?
Firstly, I have to say I disagree with the wording of the preamble. It's biased and reasoned statements into facts that are actually misleading at best. However, having said that, I believe that a healthy community needs access to green space. A healthy community requires access to the features that make it unique, such as our waterfront. So one of the reasons I'm running is to support the Midland Bay Landing. This Midland Bay Landing plan will provide a full kilometer of new access to the water. And we're not talking access the way you saw at Aberdeen or Bayport. This is actually 100 feet from the water's edge in, all the way along that full kilometer of beach. That land has never been accessible for the people of this town. It has been for the last while a privately owned industrial park. It's time to us to open it up, give it back to the people of this town, let them have access to the water. This proposal represents the largest continuous access to water that has ever happened in this town. So it has Midland Bay Landing has great promise. And as a councillor, I would like to take it and make that promise come true. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Next we go to Jim Downer. Again, do you believe that residents need more access to urban woodlands and the water with better availability of public beaches and accessible waterfront?
Yes, I do. This is something that can be a benefit to all ages and abilities. Since 1994, I was part of a team that reclaimed the edge from CN Rail. And we now have a beautiful Rotary Park Trail, the full length of our waterfront in Midland, with more to come. I'm always going to be in approval of supporting this where possible. Stay tuned because we have some wonderful things coming. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Next we go to Sheldon East. Do you believe that residents need more access to urban woodlands and the water with better availability of public beaches and accessible waterfront?
With proper oversight and public feedback, we can have both. I pose a question to everyone listening. When was the last time that you actually walked Midland Bay waterfront? I mean the area that's currently plagued with addicts and the homeless all day and night. It is a potentially dangerous environment met with hostility, anger, littered with garbage and drug paraphernalia. The waterfront has become an issue for our community's safety and well-being. Imagine creating a waterfront that can be enjoyed not from afar, but actually being able to use it safely at all times of the day and all year. A family-friendly boardwalk filled with the public use of Muskoka chairs, hammocks, a splash pad, beautiful park surrounded by trees overlooking our beautiful bay. With the added safety and security of homes, watching over those wishing to walk on the boardwalk.
Thank you.
I believe it's a positive view which can bring back Midland's beauty and a sense of community.
There might be a delay on his
If
video.
the majority of the residents of Midland are opposed to this idea, should I be elected, I will be considerate of the majority's ideas.
Okay, thanks, Shell. We just got to keep it to a minute. There might be a bit of a delay on your video, so that's maybe why I'm hearing the bell right away. But yeah, we have to keep it to a minute, just to be fair. Next, we'll go to Tom Garzinski. Do you believe that the residents need more access to urban woodlands and the water with better availability of public beaches and accessible waterfront?
Yes, I do believe we need more access to urban woodlands. However, I'd love to operate on facts and numbers. It would be very beneficial to know how many hectares of canopy have we actually lost over the last decade. Alternatively, it would also be very beneficial to know how much canopy we've gained through the hard work of our town arborists and the Parks Department by planting new trees. If we're serious about canopy, then we need to start measuring it like the town of Collingwood does. And yes, we absolutely need more public waterfront access, specifically to Georgian Bay. I vowed to maintain this and expand the public water access along Georgian Bay. And thus far, the Midland Bay Landing project for both phase 1 and phase 2 will expand upon the current public waterfront access. This will provide more areas for fishing, launching a kayak, and swimming. And as per the 120-page master plan, beaches can also be included in the phase 2 plans, which will further enhance the desirability of the lands and provide more access to Georgian Bay. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Next, we'll go to Ben Gorski. And again, do you believe that residents need more access to urban woodlands and the water with better availability of public beaches and accessible waterfront?
Yes, I do. I believe we need good balance though between growth and protecting woodlands, control our zoning and support the environment. 10 acres of the new Midland Bay Landing will belong to the public. Residents will have access completely to the waterfront. When the new development of Seasons is completed, there's another 100 acres of parks and open spaces available to the public. And we're very fortunate when we're compared our town, our size of our town to others, similar towns. We're about 4 times better off with the parklands that we currently have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ben. And next, we'll go to Bob Jeffrey. Do you believe that residents need more access to urban woodlands and the water with better availability of public beaches and accessible waterfront?
Short answer, yes. However, most of the urban woodlands, as stated, are for the most part secondary or scrub growth with less than 40 years old. Even the growth at McCullough Park is considered secondary, but it's an urban woodland, just the same, and which is enjoyed by many, as is the jewel of Midland, Little Lake Park. Within the town, there are some small areas, an oasis of forested land, enjoyed by those in the know. And it may well be that we have to designate urban woodlands on town properties and designed and planted for future generations with the mind, with species that lend themselves to a woodland that is enjoyed by many generations to come. We have maximized our own public beaches, but with proper funding, we can enhance the number of users through better access and beach maintenance. The old coal dock area, Midland Bay Landing, although accessible waterfront, has an average depth of 24 feet, much too deep for reasonable use. A more practical and broader use is called for the benefit of all residents of our local area.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. Next, we'll go to Katherine Mcdonald. Do you believe that residents need more access to urban woodlands and the water with better availability of public beaches and accessible waterfront?
Well, the statement that preceded the question was shockingly provocative, and I'm definitely interested in learning more of the facts. Of course, I believe that residents need access to urban woodlands and waterfront accessibility. I understand that urban forests encompass the trees and shrubs in an urban area, including trees in yards, along streets, utility corridors, in protected areas, and in parks. It would be important to learn the percentage of Midland's urban forests, determine if they are managed and maintained effectively and efficiently. We don't have to choose between urban communities and green space. We can have both by planning and researching all the options. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. And next we'll go to Eric Major. Do you believe that residents need more access to urban woodlands and the water with better availability of public beaches and accessible waterfront?
Absolutely. And I'm one of the ones that is out and about. And I walk the coal docks quite a bit with a dog. I know it needs to be cleaned up, and there's lots of potential down there for the citizens of Midland. And I'm also out on the trails out by Sunnyside and out behind the old Mitsubishi plant. So I see what's going on, and I know there's a lot of potential. We just have to work as a community to make it better. But on the other hand, we still, some way along the line, we still gotta get some property for affordable housing. And K Township and Victoria Harbor did it. They got some lots in the harbor. They got Simcoe County and the province involved. And I think they've got 40 some places now down there for affordable housing. And they're working on another 40. And we've got to start doing that in Midland. Thanks.
Thanks, Eric. Now we'll go to Carol Mcginn. Do you believe that residents need more access to urban woodlands and the water with better availability of public beaches and accessible waterfront?
Well, certainly, especially being the gateway to Georgian Bay, I believe we need public access to waterways and pathways. Accessible also means being AOD, accessible compliant, giving consideration to mobility and proximity to trails and parking. There is a history of gathering and fishing that is historical and of cultural significance to our Métis and First Nations residents. We have 3 town beaches. Many of us have also jumped off the old piers on the north side of the bay. We know how deep it is. Usage of Little Lake would increase with support to keep a splash pad in the budget, and that would also make the geese move on. I'd like to converse with neighboring councils about arranging to use each other's docks, parks, and beaches. Good neighbors build longer tables, not higher fences. We are a member of Bee City. Urban woodlands, even small scale, are diverse ecosystems and provide air filtration, stormwater control, and add to the beautification of the town and the residents' well-being. I love hiking and often explore the Ganaraska Trail, which can be found online. Thank you very much for a very big, encompassing question.
No problem. Thanks, Carol. Next, we'll go to Bill Meredith. Do you believe that residents need more access to urban woodlands and the water with better availability of public beaches and accessible waterfront?
Thank you. Yes, the simple answer to that is yes. The public beaches, as when I was growing up as a kid here in Midland, we always went to Tiny to our one of the best beaches around, the Concessions. And since that is no longer available to us, we're lacking in beaches, obviously. Unfortunately, P. Peterson Park, most of the time in the hot weather, it is shut down for health reasons. And then when we're looking at Midland Bay Landing, unfortunately there we have the deep water, although it will be accessible in the planning, but we are still dumping raw sewage into the bay. So not once have I ever considered jumping into that area, jumping into the water in that area for that reason. So until we clean up that part of our infrastructure, then that might be an option. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Bill. Next, we'll go to Beth Prost. Do you believe that residents need more access to urban woodlands and the water with better availability of public beaches and accessible waterfront?
Absolutely. I've received calls and emails from hundreds of residents, and that's what they're asking for. And that's exactly what I would hope to be able to give them. They're asking for a pause for Midland Bay Landing. They truly believe that as soon as there's any kind of housing there, it's gone. And I don't disagree with them at all. I think we need to look at what we have and listen to our residents, because this is their town. It's not just ours for us to sit here and make these decisions. It's their town. And I think they get to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Beth. Next, we'll go to Franco Batalero. Do you believe that residents need more access to urban woodlands and the water with better availability of public beaches and accessible waterfront?
This is a big question, and my short answer is yes, absolutely. We do need more access to urban woodlands and the water, more public access by careful consideration of any and all development proposals. I just want to put that one person cannot make changes on their own. It takes a team effort to make those changes. So it's new people equal new results. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Next, we'll go to Matthew Vaders. Do you believe that residents need more access to urban woodlands and the water with better availability of public beaches and accessible waterfront?
In short, yes. Development isn't all or nothing. We need development plans that are smart, inclusive, and accessible to all. It doesn't mean shutting our city down to growth or giving in for a concrete jungle either. We need to work with developers in phase 2 and encourage what the residents want to see. In other words, we need to have balance and compromise in order to move forward.
Thanks, Matt. And finally, we'll go to Roberta Bald. Do you believe that residents need more access to urban woodlands and the water with better availability of public beaches and accessible waterfront?
Yes, I do believe that residents need more access to the woodlands and the water, including the public beaches and accessible waterfront. And I really can't think of anything else to add, especially, you know, everybody had their own view. And I think all of us are on the same page, but especially Tom's proposal. I thought that it was very, very clear and everything. So I'm in favor, but it's a huge undertaking to do this. Thank you.
Thanks, Roberta. Okay, now we're going to go to the second question, and it is, from a tourism perspective, marketing and promotion of Midland is non-existent. Is there any plan to drive tourism and improve our visibility? And we'll start this with Glenn Canning.
You know, advertising and promotion in itself does not drive tourism. You actually need something to attract people to the area. Festivals, events, things like Art Walk, Rib Fest, Butterfest, all of these, Butter Tart Festival, all of these things actually are attractors. 4 or 5 years ago, we had literally an event every weekend. It was, for those of us who work in the downtown, it was actually quite exhausting. By the end of the summer, we had so many events going that year. However, with the downtown reconstruction and then the COVID, we lost a lot of momentum with these festivals and events, and we need to, as those of us who become councillors, to re-energize this area, to get these festivals and events going again. I mean, the last Butter Tart Festival was actually quite good. It was a lot of fun, and it was very successful. So these type of events, bring an artwork back, make sure Rib Fest happens again, and all those other things are the things that will attract tourism to the town. And when tourists come, they bring money with them. And I like it when they leave a little behind. So that's why and I hate to do the field dream things here, but if you build it, they will come. So thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Next, we go to Jim Downer. From a tourism perspective, marketing and promotion of Midland is non-existent. Is there any plan to drive tourism and improve our visibility?
Thank you. Tourism is a vital to Midland, as anything to improve this visibility needs to be considered. The last few years with this pandemic has been rough on the business owners, the citizens of Midland, everybody involved. And I think we need to reconsider what has been done and see what improvements need to be made. We have great opportunities here that we can expand on, like the Butter Tart Festival, the cruise ship business coming to our community. And are we doing enough for the cruise ship people when they arrive at our destination? These are some items that I think we need to look at. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Next, we'll go to Sheldon East. From a tourism perspective, marketing and promotion of Midland is non-existent. Is there any plan to drive tourism and improve our visibility?
We have to utilize, promote, and sell our area's draws. We already have the Butter Tart Festival, which draws in huge crowds. This is where we could build on this through expanding with the amphitheater idea, bringing all ages of crowds to our beautiful waterfront, also giving musicians an opportunity to jam on their grandstand, filling our Midland even during the week. Boaters can pull up to public docks and join in on the fun, then stroll up to our shops, which will infuse our economy. As councillors, we also can reach out to the Ministry of Tourism for grants, look into ways to promote Midland through editors and write-ups, which paint a positive image of Midland tourism, promote Discovery Harbor, St. Marie among the Hurons, the Marsh, Awanda, 6 Mile Lake. But to really advance Midland tourism, we need to build a waterfront that will draw people from all over the world to our beautiful town.
Thanks, Sheldon. Next, we're going to go to, where am I here? Tom Garzinski. And the question is, from a tourism perspective, marketing and promotion of Midland is non-existent. Is there any plan to drive tourism and improve our visibility?
Yes, I don't know if it's non-existent. I don't know if I fully agree with that. There's a lot of marketing done today through social media, and this is all driven by algorithms, likes and shares. Word of mouth has become such a big push for marketing tactics these days. Can the marketing promotion be improved upon? Absolutely, it can be. I mean, this is just one little item. For example, how many people saw places where you could buy an I Love Midland t-shirt walking through Butter Tart Festival? I saw one, and unfortunately they didn't have my size. This is some of the things to get our brand out that we can help the town with. Get more shirts out there, 4 or 5 booths. Man, people eat them up. I'd say we have one of the best festivals, food festivals. Butter Tart Festival is one of the best Ontario food festivals going. Additionally, we've got tall ships, we've got Tug Fest, we've got Rib Fest, we've got cruise ships coming in, we got bus trips coming in. There is a lot of things that are attracting tourists to this area right now. I believe we're doing a good job at attracting tourism, but we can always improve. And I'd love the opportunity to work collaboratively with the Economic Development Corporation of North Simcoe, Chamber of Commerce, and the residents of Midland to help drive and improve tourism. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Tom. Next, we'll go to Ben Gorski. From a tourism perspective, marketing and promotion of Midland is non-existent. Is there any plan to drive tourism and improve our visibility?
Currently, we have several promotions for tourism in North Simcoe. We provide services and advice. We can always increase advertising on social media, but Midland has very successful events like the Butter Tart Festival that was mentioned, Tall Ships, Tug Fest, Rib Fest, Polka Run. Martyr Shrine in Marsh draws thousands of people to this area every year. Penetang has a pumpkin inferno. They have the Windorama, Discover Harbor, just to mention a few. We're going to continue to work with county and the province on promoting these events, apply for any available grants. I hear ideas from BIA downtown of possibly closing a couple blocks of King Street just through the summer. And, set up cafes, set up a stage for music, arts displays. We're going to ask our residents, tell us, what can we do better? This is a great little book that we have that's available to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Next, we'll go to Bob Jeffrey. From a tourism perspective, marketing and promotion of Midland is non-existent. Is there any plan to drive tourism and improve our visibility?
Well, at the present time, none that comes to mind, but will surely be on the earliest agenda of council that we can do. I guess my video is not on here.
We can hear you.
There we are. It seems to me that Midland needs to become a permanent destination for things, not just special events on weekends, this, that, and the other, but a permanent destination for people. How that will look, what it will look like, I think that's up to the people. However, I think that makes everything work. The weekends and everything else means we have to reinvent ourselves. The tall ships are once every 4 or 5 years. The Butter Tart Festival, which was started in 2012, yeah, it's really great. But trust me, it's going to peter. And when it does, we'll need something to replace it. We have a great area. We have great draws, but we need something permanent, and that's got to be down at our waterfront. Thanks.
Thank you, Bob. Next, we go to Katherine Mcdonald. From a tourism perspective, marketing and promotion in Midland is non-existent. Is there any plan to drive tourism and improve our visibility?
Well, I can't say that it is non-existent, but there's definitely room for improvement. If you Google the town of Midland, Ontario, you get the town website. Under tourism, there is the accommodation listing. And honestly, the balance was not particularly inviting. I believe we have a lot to offer besides the successful Butter Tart Festival event. I know there are prospective plans for a World Music Weekend that the town could be proactive in supporting. Midland could enthusiastically promote the active, healthy living aspect with our parks, bike paths, pickleball courts, and golf frisbee, to name a few. We could work more closely with our neighboring municipalities and promote each other. The Simcoe County Tourism website should entice people to visit Midland. Noticeably, Midland was not listed and as a popular destination, and that has to change. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. And now we'll go to Eric Major. From a tourism perspective, marketing and promotion of Midland is non-existent. Is there any plan to drive tourism and improve our visibility?
I think everyone's mentioned the events they've already mentioned, but for our family being in Silver Stick for probably over 40 years, that weekend, every hotel's full. We don't seem to promote our downtown for that weekend, and there's teams from all over Ontario here for the whole weekend. The boats come in and are the tour buses. I've done a few times, ran the mic on tour buses, but when I go up the main street, I tell them what the buildings were on the main street when I was a kid and what they are now, and go through the whole steps of Midland of what's going on. And I don't know if the others are doing it. And I don't even know if the tour buses now are going to Fort St. Marie or what they're doing, or if they're just going out to Rama. But the schools come up, and you're hopefully the students, as they get older, will bring their kids up. Like, we've got enough events, and it's supposed to be Simcoe County that's promoting us.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Eric.
Okay.
And next we'll go to Carol Mcginn. From a tourism perspective, marketing and promotion of Midland is non-existent. Is there any plan to drive tourism and improve our visibility?
This is a work in progress that sadly was impacted by COVID. Sites that are updated include Tourism Midland, the Heart of Georgian Bay, which is at gbay.ca, everywhere Ontario. We are on Destination Ontario and Brew Grace Simcoe Tourism. They started something new, which is featuring a photographer ambassador every week. Cultural Alliance is drawing tourism, as do cruise ships, tall ships, Butter Tart festivals. The EDCNS updates its website and was collaborating with neighbors. We were presented with a plan, but because of COVID, couldn't follow through. I've got some good news from our airport, and this is a direct quote from their website. On September 16th, the Canadian Border Service Agency announced they will be resuming service to Huronia Midland Airport, which was temporarily suspended due to COVID-19. CYEE will now be able to support international transporter travel. So there's some good news. They also have an event coming up. The BIA, I hear, is planning an event. We need to consider drawing folks for all seasons and be age-friendly so families also consider staying here. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. Next, we'll go to Bill Meredith. From a tourism perspective, marketing and promotion of Midland is non-existent. Is there any plan to drive tourism and improve our visibility?
I'd have to agree with, for the most part, Tom's comments, Mr. Garzinski, without repeating myself on and wasting time on that. What I would encourage is transient docking for tourism to come to Midland. We have Georgian Bay, and we're on Georgian Bay, and I see boats leaving our harbor every weekend, every Friday, and nothing coming in. We don't have spaces for transient dockers from Perry Sound to come up, whether it's the Muskokas, Honey Harbor, to actually come down at an area where they can actually have a safe area for their boat, come out, spend their money in our shops, our restaurants, and so forth. So the biggest investment that I think that we need to make is transient slips for boaters, and therefore it'll expand Midland and it's notoriety. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Bill. Next, we'll go to Beth Prost. From a tourism perspective, marketing and promotion of Midland is non-existent. Is there any plan to drive tourism and improve our visibility?
Everything can be improved. I think we're doing a really good job. Cultural Alliance does an amazing job. We have so many events here, and obviously we could have more. Midland Bay Landing could be an incredible attraction. It could be skiing or skating through the winter and like in paths through there. It could be a water park added for the kids right by Georgian Bay. It could be used as a huge attraction because you've got trees and you've got Georgian Bay. And if you can go for a little hike, even if it's, it's not that big as far as hiking goes, it's enough for kids. It's enough for some people. They can have a picnic. It could be a huge attraction. So there's always room for improvement.
Great. Thanks,
Thank
Beth.
you.
Next, we'll go to Franco Vattalero. From a tourism perspective, marketing and promotion of Midland is non-existent. Is there any plan to drive tourism and improve our visibility?
Yes, as a business owner downtown, we should be working with our local groups, the BIA, Southern Georgian Bay Chamber of Commerce, Simcoe and Ontario Tourism, to promote what Midland already has to offer and to create buzzing tourism destinations. We should be, and to also preserve what we already have for our locals. Also, one point is that we need more festivals that bring in money, not that cost Midland money. Thanks.
Thank you, Frank. Next, we go to Matthew Vaders. From a tourism perspective, marketing and promotion of Midland is non-existent. Is there any plan to drive tourism and improve our visibility?
Is it non-existent? We are home of the Butter Tart Festival, which brings in thousands of tourists and generates revenue for the town. I think there is marketing happening. It's how to make it more impactful to all age groups. The pandemic slowed down the marketing promotion of Midland, but I'm confident we'll see an increase in Midland becoming a prime destination for tourists. Our town thrives on people coming to visit. We are the gateway to Georgian Bay and one of the most ecologically beautiful places on earth. I'm encouraged by the Georgian Bay Geopark and what that could mean for Midland and our region. As I mentioned earlier, I love Midland. I love what it has to offer and love what it can be.
Thank you, Matthew. Next, we'll go to Roberta Bald. From a tourism perspective, marketing and promotion of Midland is non-existent. Is there any plan to drive tourism and improve our visibility?
Thank you. I'm not aware of any plan to drive tourism and improve our visibility, except perhaps the large boats coming to Midland. And also, I want to, I've heard everybody talk about that. Sorry, that's my dog. Everybody has, contributed a lot of information now, but also we have a gem here. It's the Midland Public Library. They have so many, events and everything. They have the outdoor party and everything. So they are really a gem in our town. And so if we liaise with them and try to, get things going, they're always doing something. So sorry. Okay.
Well, you get 50, there are 2 bills, so you get another 15 seconds there, but yeah.
Okay, well, anyway, I was on the board of directors of MPL, and they were really great about that. So that's just my 2 cents, and everybody has contributed, so it's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta. And finally, we have Jamie Lee Ball. From a tourism perspective, marketing and promotion of Midland is non-existent. Is there any plan to drive tourism and improve our visibility?
I believe there have been improvements to creating promotion on Midland. The video showcasing downtown, social media posts that were already talked about, and the painted mural boxes around town are a great supporting addition to the already beautiful murals that are around. I think that we have a chance to build on the success of the Butter Tart Festival to improve visibility and tourism. That starts with showcasing our waterfront and also working on a partnership with downtown Midland and hotels to offer regular shuttles for tourists so they do have downtown right at their doorstep. I also think we need to be listening to our residents. I've seen ideas brought forward by residents that offer unique solutions that use little resources while creating a large ability to draw people to downtown. Midland has passionate, capable residents with a varied skill set, and we're lucky to live in a place where we have such a caring community, and allowing their ideas to come to fruition ensures our community thrives.
Great. Thanks, Jamie Lee. Okay, that's it for the question number 2. Now on question number 3. What is your view on the Midland Bay Landing project? Are the people of Midland Bay properly represented by the board? And is 25% public land and 75% private a fair deal as outlined on the town website? And we'll start this with Jim Downer.
Thank you, Peter. I think the people of Midland are being properly represented by the board according to the original plans. The 25% of public land will give the people of Midland the access they were asking for. And I do realize that some residents today have concerns that are different to the original consultations. Plans are not finalized, and you will have a chance for your voices to be heard. I was born and raised here in Midland, and I would never vote for something that would not benefit all of Midland. We have 2 council members that sit on that board, and our town's interests are being well represented. Thank you,
Jim. Thank you. Next we'll go to Sheldon. What is your view on the Midland Bay Landing project? Are the people of Midland being properly represented by the board? And is 25% public land and 75% private a fair deal as outlined on the town website?
I feel the Midland Bay project is fair on all terms, and the best part of it is that there's still opportunity for discussion on all sides, even the town residents. I also feel we have a great opportunity to not only build housing, but promote self-employment. I want you to open your hearts and look at our children and your grandchildren. They might have dreams of owning a sports store or a little bakery, or a family wanting to open a restaurant or an outdoor outfitter store. When COVID hit, a lot of people reevaluated their lives and decided they wanted to be self-employed. Imagine a family coming off Jose Island. A wife could get her hair cut at your salon on the waterfront, or a father can buy camping gear at your waterfront family's outdoor store. A tattoo at your waterfront tattoo shop, while they grab a ball cap and a cup of cake from your children's business. We have an opportunity here to give families of generations to come a prosperous and stable future, giving children a reason to stay in Midland and not want to leave.
Sorry, it's just a delay there. So, okay, thank you. Next, we'll go to Tom. What is your view on the Midland Bay Landing project? Are the people of Midland being properly represented by the board? And is 25% public land and to 75% private a fair deal as outlined on the town website?
So specifically looking at phase 1, it satisfies the 15-minute town concept, which we should be striving for in any development in Midland. A 15-minute town concept is a town that is built so residents have access to all essential services: doctors, dentists, banks, shops, restaurants, you name it, within a 15-minute walk of their door. This satisfies, phase 1 satisfies a 15-minute town concept. Additionally, the townhomes are being built near to current transit routes, which is another aspect of sustainable development. As an added bonus, downtown businesses can only be positively impacted by intensifying the downtown area. This will draw more people to the downtown, which will generate, hopefully, in theory, more revenue for downtown businesses. Phase 2 is surrounded by too many unknowns and hypotheticals. Let's forget about it for now. But I do believe that phase 2 needs more public consultation. Some of the conceptual drawings, they didn't agree with Midland fabric, in my opinion. The board is representing the town in all aspects. They need social and economic, environmental perspectives. They're covering all 3. It's going to be very important in the next couple of years to be prudent, financially prudent. And this.
Okay. So I got to cut you off there, Tom. Thank you, though.
Yeah, thank you.
Next is Ben. What is your view on Midland Bay Landing project? Are the people of Midland being properly represented by the board? And is 25% public land to the 75% private a fair deal as outlined on the town website?
I believe it's a fair deal for a community. No cost to the town. Phase 1 will feature a boardwalk, park, amphitheater, splash pad for kids and grandkids to enjoy. 10 acres of total accessible space with full access to waterfront. Phase 2 will produce more revenue for the town. I think this whole project's been reviewed and with public consultation for years. It's been long coming. It's time to build it and enjoy it. I think for the town to keep this, on the flip side, for the town to keep this park, the whole area as a park would cost about $30 million to clean up the maintenance of it, and the taxpayer would take a hit for it. I will listen to the community concerns and work with the council and NBL board and the developer through the next phase. Collectively, we can reach decisions that are best for the interest of the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. And next we'll go to Bob Jeffrey. What is your view on the Midland Bay Landing project? Are the people of Midland being properly represented by the board? And is 25% land, public land to the 75% private a fair deal as outlined on the town website?
Well, I'm not sure that the people are being represented as was originally envisioned, but you know, that can be remedied. Remember, the property was bought by the town in 2012 to cut out a guy by the name of Coco Paving. Coco Paving was a paver, and he would have taken over the property. We wouldn't have had anything near Waterfront, and we'd have piles of slag of used asphalt. We, the town, in that day bought that property knowing that things would happen. And hopefully the majority of it would be sold off and so much kept for the residents of the town, including the waterfront. And that's why it was bought, to return the waterfront. Because you got to remember, 100 years was no access for us. Now we have access. So yeah, I think it's good.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Next, we'll go to Katherine Mcdonald. What is your view on the Midland Bay Landing project? Are the people of Midland being properly represented by the board? And is 25% public land to the 75% private a fair deal as outlined on the town website?
Midland Bay Landing project must provide benefits to our entire community. It's clear that public access to the entire waterfront is a major request, and Midland Bay Landing proposal will provide this. Midland Bay Landing is proposing more space for public fishing, walking, viewing, and picnics, together with a parallel multi-use trail for cycling and running. 10 acres of new publicly accessible space, 25% of the site area, will be promenade, park, and public plazas to be built by the developer at no cost to the town. New annual tax revenue will be created for Midland. And most importantly, there will be the opportunity for public feedback on the proposed design element of Midland Bay Landing. And I just have to pick up on Mr. Jeffrey's last comment. We've never had water access before. There's always been a cold dock or Indusman or something there. So this is an opportunity that I can see happening. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Katherine. Next we'll go to Eric. What is your view on the Midland Bay Landing project? Are the people of Midland being properly represented by the board? And is 25% public land to the 75% private a fair deal as outlined on the town website?
Thank you. I think it should be 60-40. And the biggest thing no one seems to be keeping track of is we got to wait 100 days. And the way the war in Ukraine and the interest rates are going up, I wonder if Midland Bay Landing, the board, or even town council has thought, because of the timing and state of the economy, including interest rate and risk, will determine if the guy's going to develop it or not. And what happens, I haven't heard from anyone at the town that if he comes back and decides to have a pause, where's the town of Midland? Where's Midland Bay Landing? Where are we stuck with? Because if it goes back into being turned over again, then the land's not going to be worth as much as it is right now. And I haven't heard anyone on this committee or anyone say anything about that. It's coming out. Thanks.
Thanks, Eric. Next, go to Carol. What is your view on the Midland Bay Landing project? Are the people of Midland Bay properly represented by the board? And is 25% public land to 75% private a fair deal as outlined on the town website?
I'm going to talk fast. There's loads of concerns and confusion that needs to be understood and responded to. I've heard from folks who want to tweak phase one, new residents and long-term residents with grandkids that want a bigger park on the east side and have those activities and snowmobiling continue, which I support. I'm for contemplative development of this $4.7 million self-funded property. An EDI committee would ensure we consult with our Métis members. My personal desire for forests and parks everywhere is being balanced with a responsibility for managing an asset, need to replenish reserves, increase tax base, affordable housing, and have lands that by Ministry of Environment rules are fenced off, remediated. Now, this started 10 years ago and will span many more councils. Views will change and there is an opportunity throughout to be heard. I want to revisit this project and would like to have a special public engagement events where a new council, the board, and Georgian communities at this present time attends. Everyone in one space. Thank you.
You did it, Carol. Well done.
Did it.
It was fast, but okay. Bill, Meredith, we have, what is your view on the Midland Bay Landing project? Are the people of Midland being properly represented by the board? And is 25% public and land to 75% private a fair deal as outlined on the town website?
Simple answer is no, we haven't been represented at all by the board. We've been kept in the dark for the majority of the issues on Midland Bay Landing for a long period of time. We have since, in the last week and a half, there's been advertisements in the paper, on social media, on a clearer picture. And even in that picture that I've seen, if it's a concept drawing or not, I'm not sure, but the parkland, I'm not sure what percentage of that is, the parkland is not even facing the waterfront. If we are going to get serious about this waterfront, we have to look at the residents of Midland first, put them first, and the parkland should be in front of the water. And if the condos are going to be built, and if that's what Midland wants, then they could be in behind. So until we get serious with this development and what the Midland residents want, then we can begin to go forward. But right now, they're not being represented. The citizens aren't being represented by the board at all. It seems like they have their own interests in mind, and that's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Bill. Next we'll go to Beth. What is your view on the Midland Bay Landing project? Are the people of Midland being properly represented by the board? And is 25% public land to the 75% private a fair deal as outlined on the town website?
I've never been in favor of housing or commercial stores on Midland Bay Landing. We have a downtown, a beautiful downtown with amazing stores, and I think we need to continue to support and grow our downtown and make that more prosperous. So I don't think stores up there is going to benefit our downtown people. I don't think our residents are being represented on the board at all. There's hundreds of people asking for a pause. They want to say something, and they're not being heard. Nothing has been done as far as I know. And 25%, many residents have said to me, it's like a slap in the face. They don't feel that that's fair. They own that land. They are the taxpayers in this town, and it's theirs, and they should have a say in it. We have to listen to what the residents want. This is their town. They pay the taxes. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Beth. And next we'll go to Franco. What is your view on the Midland Bay Landing project? Are the people of Midland being properly represented by the board? And is 25% public land to the 75% private a fair deal as outlined on the town website?
I just want to refer back to a couple points that were made by Beth Prost, who's right about the downtown core. And we're taking away, by putting businesses in Midland Bay Landing, we're taking away from the downtown core. Are we not to be promoting our businesses downtown, the family-run businesses that are already hurting post-COVID, pre-COVID? So that's first and foremost, I think. And then to Howie, Major, you made a great point, and it's an interesting one about the financials. Yes, that is something we need to explore. But you want my honest opinion on Midland Bay Landing? My view, simple, pause and rethink. The most important thing is to get the perspective of our residents. The current plan is dated. Yes, there was a public consult, but it was so long ago, it no longer is relevant to today's residents. Well, I will work, the council, the new council, will work with the community to revitalize the plan so we can all be proud. Thanks.
Thank you, Frank. Okay, next is Matthew. What is your view on Midland Bay Landing project? Are the people of Midland being properly represented by the board? And is 25% public land to the 75% private a fair deal as outlined on the town website?
I trust that the project has been reviewed, re-reviewed, and plenty of consultations. Now that we have plans in place and numbered years have passed, it's always good to communicate with the residents that we are on the right track. The selling price far exceeds the purchase price and rebuilds reserves for the town. It generates employment for the area, not only during construction, but afterwards as well. It generates tax relief to residents and allows new amenities throughout Midland. Residents own a 10-acre accessible space with public square, healing gardens, pedestrian ways from water's edge, back 100 feet. Along the 3,700-foot shoreline, the public retains ownership. You can access parking at the Midland Bay Landing and fish the entire shoreline.
Okay, great. Thanks, Matt. Next, we have Roberta Bald. What is your view on the Midland Bay Landing project? Are the people of Midland being properly represented by the board? And is 25% public land to the 75% private a fair deal as outlined on the town website? Oh, your mute's on, Roberta. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I would agree with a few of the other candidates. Slow down and pause. That to me is a wise thing. And also, and I'm just I had a conversation with Bill Gordon, and he noted that there was no parking in the plan. So the plan that we have is flawed, and I really I don't think it's a fair deal. And so there's going to be a new slate of well, after the election, and I think those people should relook at what is going on and make decisions, because it's been going on for a long time, but we have to do it right. Thank you.
Thanks, Roberta. And next we'll go to Jamie Lee. We have what is your view on the Midland Bay Landing project? Are the people of Midland being properly represented by the board? And is 25% public land to the 75% private a fair deal as outlined on the town website?
I don't think it is the percentage of land that is the issue, but whether that 25% is going to be accessible and thoughtful space that can be utilized by residents as a community space. How are people going to park? How are all the proposed community space, are they going to fit within that 25%, and where are they going? I would love for there to be more specific drawings out to residents so that every resident can have an informed decision. I also think there needs to be consideration about how phase 2 is developed. I think that there has been a huge outcry by the community regarding their thoughts, and that those issues being brought forward need to be represented.
Great, thank you. And finally, we'll go for Glenn here. What is your view on the Midland Bay Landing project? Are the people of Midland being properly represented by the board? And is 25% public land to the 75% private a fair deal as outlined on the town website?
First of all, the people are being properly represented by the board. It is functioning as it is designed to function. The 25%, 75% mix is not an arbitrary number. It actually represents the amount of land that can be turned into a park that will be wholly financed by the development of the rest of the property. During the public consultations, what really came out was that people wanted parkland, they wanted waterfront access, but they did not want their taxes going through the roof in order to finance it. If you remember, at the time, the estimate of converting that land into a park to rehabilitating brownfield land and turning it into land that you could use for a park was about $25 million. Any of you that have served on council, remember the rule of thumb: for every $1 million in public fund taxes or money spent is about a 2% tax increase. Now, Granted, you wouldn't do it directly on a single budget, you would finance it. So you'd spread that across a period of time, but you're still looking at a substantial tax increase for anything that drives this project differently. Saying that the project is out of date is also wrong. 8 years lead time, that's normal. That's just normal for a project like this. This was the largest single public consultation in the history of this town. It was actually more people attended this than the last operational plan and the operational plan before that. The people spoke. The fact that some people didn't show up, I'm not appalled at that.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go on to question number 4. What council decisions in the past would you like to change? And we'll start first with Sheldon.
Parking. Unfortunately, our shoppers find the new meters unreliable and difficult to operate. Respectfully, the town council had granted 15 minutes free parking. Unfortunately, this had created more confusion. I would like to see coin machines replacing the current machines or the new machines being updated to simple and familiar to use, creating a positive, enjoying shopping experience in Midland. Going back to the pay it forward community where we drop an extra quarter in the machine for the next guest. I would also like to see parking in Midland during the winter months free until we correct the parking meter problems. Our area residents want to shop local, but we have to make it easy and simple for them. As well, I would like to create parking lines to clarify parking spaces, creating efficient parking and helping consumers not damage the car doors when they open them into the steel posts. In addition, I would also like to see restaurants not taking up parking on King Street, which is already very limited since our beautiful downtown was redone. It's hurting the convenience of easy shopping downtown Midland. So I would like to revisit the parking situation downtown.
Okay, perfect. Now we're going to go to Tom. What council decisions in the past would you like to change?
So here we go with parking. Thanks, Sheldon, for that great intro on that. Fiscal responsibility is so crucial during these inflationary pricing times. So we need to look at all revenue streams possible. I think that we missed a great opportunity in the summer to implement a responsible and fair paid parking program for our visitors to our town. We had massive festivals. Lots of people were here. They drove here, unfortunately. There was some that used shuttle buses, but a lot of them drove here. We could have been charging for parking for our visitors. I think that we missed an opportunity this summer that we should be charging our visitors to Midland, not the residents, but the visitors coming here. And why not, while we're at it, charge for parking in Little Lake and Golly Park for visitors coming in? It makes sense. It's a revenue stream. We left a lot of money on the table this summer not doing that. Speaking of parking, there's concerns with parking down Midland Bay Landing. Bayshore is 3 lanes right now. There's really no need for 3 lanes. We can go on a road diet, parking on one side, have some safe, accessible crossing, pedestrian crossing, and there you go. That solves the parking issue. They did it at David Onley Park. We can do it out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And next we go to Ben. What council decisions in the past would you like to change?
Well, I have to speak about downtown parking as well. I think council recognized the mistake and made the necessary changes. So the parking's free and there's a good plan in place to correct this. I hear from the people visiting downtown how great it looks, and we need to keep on track and not discourage visitors from getting frustrated with this parking. I also like to and support the future plan to provide free transit and parking in designated areas for our seniors. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Next we go to Bob. What council decisions in the past would you like to change?
Well, we need a lot of time to research the consequences of such a move. It's okay to talk about parking. I was downtown today and helped the guy park with a loonie and pushed the green button and it worked. He put the thing in his his windshield and away he went. He was happy. For us to turn around and suggest that we will change something that somebody else did on good faith, it's awful hard. There are some things that were done by groups that were bullies, if you will, and those things have to be looked at. Yes, indeed. But geez, generally speaking, everything was done in good faith. And why would you want to just upend everything because that's the way it goes? That's not fair to past people.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. Thank you. Next to Catherine, what council decisions in the past would you like to change?
Thank you. Well, I'm going to start off with the internet and telephone voting only decision. Could have included a paper ballot. I've been made aware by several Midland residents that they would prefer to have a paper ballot and go to a polling station. So yes, voting by internet and by phone, but also the option to have a paper ballot. Of course, I knew everyone would be on the parking pay by plate. It did create a great deal of controversy and stress. And the biggest loss was to the small business owners. Now, new parking options are being offered. Community, excuse me, feedback will determine whether it is an acceptable solution. Also, there should be consideration given to bylaw 2011-80 to regulate election signs. If it can't be enforced, it should be reviewed.
Great, thanks, Catherine. We'll go to Eric now. What council decisions in the past would you like to change?
I think it's parking, but it's not about the money. I think it's the bollards downtown, because I don't know what it cost the town last year, but trying to move the snow from around the bollards and the parking meters, we snapped off 2 poles. And when you park in the winter, to try and line it up so your passenger can get out without the door hitting a bollard, or if you park too close to the side of the road, you step down into the ditch where the water runs down. So I think some of that. And then I'd like to see in the summer, the big sidewalk sale and no parking downtown. And I think the patio stuff should be done Thanksgiving weekend and put the bollards back where they're supposed to be so we can open our car doors against them all winter by Thanksgiving weekend. But it's the bollards and the way they're constructed. We got to change something down there because it's costing us too much money after we replace poles.
Thanks,
Thank
Eric.
you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Carol. What council decisions in the past would you like to change?
Thank you, Catherine. Online and telephone voting only. I'm sorry and have to ask to be forgiven. I confess that I, at the time we voted on this, was afraid for others and my own family if COVID did not abate. What I think should have happened was both polling stations and online telephone voting. If people want to do electronic, they could. I'm hearing that folks often don't know of the change, even though we mailed out information, or people who are not computer illiterate or have dexterity limitations. Also heard that some people simply enjoy going out to vote. So I'm going to quickly list. If you need help, you can go to the town hall Tuesday, October the 11th, 10 to 4:30, Wednesday to Friday, the 12th to the 14th, from 8:30 to 4:30, Saturday the 15th, 12 to 4, Monday is October 17th to Friday, October 21st, 8:30 to 4:30, Saturday 12 to 4, Monday the 24th, 8:30 to 8 p.m. Another thing is that I think we need to have a council rep on the Midland Accessibility Committee, and I would love to get a youth committee put together. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. Bill, you're up. What council decisions in the past would you like to change?
Thank you. I'd like to change the decision council made to increase the criterias on being able to speak in front of council, something I call deputation suppression. During the big dig, there was some issues that I had that I wanted to bring to council. and I was suppressed. I was muzzled by this administration, and I reached out to every council member through email, by asking them if they wanted to speak off the record on what I had to say. Not one council member reached out to me, except for one. Nothing got done. I was suppressed, and this cannot happen. I want to be the voice for Midland. I want to bring all of everything that matters to you in front of council. So you should have a voice, and therefore end deputation suppression is what I want to be changed.
Great. Thank you, Bill. Now we'll go to Beth. What council decisions in the past would you like to change?
I'd like to change probably all the ones I heard. Two stand out very well. One is the Midland Bay Landing decision to move forward. And the one that was really big for me was when council chose to go to litigation with former Chief Osborne and Bill Gordon. Mediation would have done the same thing and would have saved the taxpayers thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I think we need to talk more and maybe be just better people and treat people with more respect and do things the right way, not just spend taxpayers' money. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. And next we'll go to Franco. What council decisions in the past would you like to change?
Well, I'm not gonna dwell on the parking because everybody did that for me. Thank you very much. But as a downtown business owner, we have to come up with an honest compromise that benefits everybody. It did hurt us in the summer months, it really did. But what I'd love to do in council, and when and if I'm elected, is revisit some of the financial allocations so that we can be very responsible with our spending to control our taxes, which many of us cannot afford. Like I said earlier, I want to bring transparency, integrity, and most of all, prosperity to the people and the town of Midland. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. Okay, next we'll go to Matthew. What council decisions in the past would you like to change?
I'm just going to touch briefly on parking, as many of you have mentioned it. I often heard from residents that, you know, I have to wait for my husband or wife to come home so they can drive around and I pop into the store. So, you know, we need to fix this issue for our residents because it's affecting our small town businesses. Another decision that I wish we could change was putting the splash pad on hold. I'm hoping that we are able to revisit that idea shortly because Midland could really utilize one of these.
Hey, thank you, Matthew. Now we'll go to Roberta. What council decisions in the past would you like to change? Oh, you mute, Roberta.
I guess. Okay. All right. So, so I would advocate for a complete review of the OPP. Okay, just that, you know, I know about the OPP and a you know, a standalone police service, and the OPP just don't do it. They you know, they just, I don't know. They're really, the OPP was like their main thing is traffic, and on the you know, the large, like a lot of speeding and stuff, but they're not very good in a small town like this. So I know we're probably hammered and like there's a contract somewhere, but I really would like to get something going and try to fix what is wrong with the OPP. Thank you.
Thanks, Roberta. And now we'll go to Jamie Lee. What council decisions in the past would you like to change?
Oh, I think that council have now done a good job of listening to residents and business owners about the downtown parking situation. They've made parking more inclusive and less confusing now, but I would like to continue to monitor residents' comments to make sure that the change system is better meeting their needs. I would also like to address a functional way to gain back lost revenue without putting the additional cost back to residents. The CNE in Toronto this year, they charged an event rate for all their normally subsidized rates. Like Tom has already touched on, that's lost revenue for our residents that we can gain back. I think the focus should be on listening to the concerns of residents going into the future, and that it could bring up past decisions that require change. Council should be flexible in continuing to question decisions and best practices of every decision, including ones they have made, because the most important thing is bettering our community.
Great, thank you. And now we'll go to Glenn. What council decisions in the past would you like to change?
All right, I'm a little biased on this one, but I'm going to go back to parking. A well-developed parking policy in a downtown area should actually help to facilitate commerce, should not be driven by the desire for revenue, which is what we saw last time around. The response was slow. It showed that the council did not quite understand the business community or our community at large. I was really quite disappointed in the fact that, with the exception of Councillor Cunningham and Mayor Strathern, not a single councillor wandered in and said, well, what are your customers saying? What are your customers, how are they responding to this new parking system? It was one of the things, one of the reasons I'm here right now is because that lack of responsiveness by the council. I will say this though about the comment by Roberta. Those of us in the downtown, we often have situations where we need to use the police. And I have found the OPP to be responsive, professional. They have been, I hate to say it, a joy to deal with because you don't want to deal with them at all. But quite frankly, they have been responsive and they've been very professional in all the situations I've had since we brought that police force on. So that's pretty much it, actually. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. Next, finally, we'll have Jim. What council decisions in the past would you like to change?
Thank you very much, Peter. With my 20 years experience on town council, there's nothing that I personally voted on that I would change. There is a lot of consideration that goes into a vote and feel comfortable with decisions I have made. If I had a magic wand to change anything, I would have liked to have seen the Midland Police Service stay intact. At the present time, speeding is out of control in this town, as well as noisy vehicles. And we've contacted the police numerous times, and there's still unrest in the community as far as speeding. And I find that unacceptable. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jim. And that does it for question 4. The final question of the evening. What is your stance on the guest shelter being situated behind the library and essentially in downtown Midland? And we'll go to Tom to start that off.
So as the downtown has evolved, I think many residents are starting to see that perhaps this location is not the most suitable option. If another one feasible option arose, which benefited the staff, the service users, and all Midland residents, then I'd support an investigation for the relocating of the guest house shelter. I like to look at a social enterprise that we have here that I believe is world-class and a benchmark in Operation Grow. And I believe that there's some capacity here, maybe to enter a public-private partnership or a social enterprise model with to have the guest house shelter adopt some sort of model like this, so that the service users have a place to rebuild and reestablish their community involvement. I wanted to touch a little bit on speeding. It seems to be a thing there. I know I'm diverting from the question, but I hope my response was clear on the guest house shelter. There's no reason why all of the town of Midland streets should be 40 kilometers an hour unless otherwise posted. Main drags, of course, you keep it at 50, but I mean 4th Street, 3rd Street, 2nd Street, 1st, these need to be all 40. There's no reason for 50.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll go to Ben. What is your stance on the guest shelter being situated behind a library and essentially in downtown Midland?
A guest house downtown is a definite concern. I know it firsthand. Being on the library board for 12 years, we're always dealing with issues. What we have to do is manage it better. We need to make the guest house, they have to take responsibility 24/7 for their guests. We got to reach out to the county to provide more support, look at ways to use bylaw, maybe give officers more power. We need shelter for homeless. So that's been a big issue. So if we can work with, support groups and developers to find those solutions and alleviate that downtown. The guest house is staying. It's not going anywhere. That's a done deal. So it's staying there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ben. And next to go to Bob. What is your stance on the guest shelter being situated behind the library and essentially in downtown Midland?
Well, the guest house is not a municipal venture. It's against the law to choose and pick who can live or inhabit what place they choose. Homelessness is not a new phenomenon. It's been around for eons. And it's not just Midland's problem. There's reasons for a person being homeless, as is. There's as many reasons as is there are people who suffer from the debilitation. Rather than point the finger, let's come up with viable programs that will satisfy the needs of all concerned. Midland's the best place to live, work, and play. And maybe we should add restart. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Next we go to Katherine. What is your stance on the guest shelter being situated behind the library and essentially in downtown Midland?
The town of Midland has to work with the guest house, not against it. Being homeless is not a crime. It's a global problem that requires local solutions. We need to understand who the homeless are, educate ourselves, and respond with kindness. We need to respect the homeless as individuals and give them the same courtesy and respect we do to our friends, family, and employers. Remember that one of the top causes of homelessness is a lack of affordable housing. Can Midland provide more transitional housing programs, incorporate tax credits to developers, develop a street outreach program? As councillor, I would learn ways to work with all our local social agencies in an attempt to deliver programs of relief and support.
Thanks, Katherine. Next, go to Eric. What is your stance on the guest shelter being situated behind the library and essentially in downtown Midland?
The guest house is run by Simcoe County. I think it's very important and a necessity. But could we locate it somewhere else? And if it stays downtown, this winter, we've got to put porta potties out and have some place for them to go during the day, because when they're let out at 7 in the morning, they have nowhere to go. And that's why they're doing whatever they're doing on the streets. But I don't really care for it downtown. And I've asked a few people around town if the town has some buildings like the old PUC building out in the highway, or the Parks building down on 4th Street, if any of that could be, with taxpayers' money, put into housing for the homeless, because we got those 2 buildings sitting empty, and it'd be nice to see the town use it. And that's my stance on it. Thanks.
Thank you, Eric. Next, go to Carol. What is your stance on the guest shelter being situated behind the library and essentially in downtown Midland?
So council weighed the concerns and merits of the location 8 years ago, and we have a well-needed shelter. I think the real reason or driver behind this question has to do with our need for more transitional housing and supports, plus loitering concerns. What I feel we ought to do is support more resources for street-involved persons, see the people as someone's family member, and partner more openly and actively with outreach, services and support agencies, the BIA, and then push the county for affordable housing and supports now. Plus, we could consider a bylaw to change to support different housing models, including tiny homes. We need to realize that these are people. These are friends, family, and neighbors, and value them and meet them where they're at, and accept that they're going to, if they want help, you have to only give the help that they request at that time. Being street involved is not a crime. It's something that we need to view from our heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol. Next, go to Bill. What is your stance on the guest shelter being situated behind the library and essentially in downtown Midland?
Hi. Simply put, it shouldn't be so close to our downtown, and the methadone clinic doesn't help the situation at all. Speaking, I'm on the board of the BIA, and there has been an increase in shoplifting in the downtown core. Businesses are doubling their staff because of safety concerns, and as we come into the hours growing shorter, getting darker at 4 o'clock, businesses are actually considering a closing earlier. So we pay $75,000 for security at the town library. The town does out of our taxes. There should be no reason why they shouldn't provide another $75,000 for security for the downtown core. That unless we're going to have some solutions for the guest house, and if it's going to remain there, and I get it. I mean, we have homelessness and housing issues, but someone is going to get severely hurt downtown, whether it's our business owners, our tourists, innocent children. It's going to happen, and we can't sit idle to this situation. Thank you.
Okay, next we're going to move to Beth. What is your stance on the guest shelter being situated behind the library and essentially in downtown Midland?
I've never understood why they would be in the building that they're in. It never made sense to me. Being downtown is dangerous. I don't know where else they could go, but I know they do need more services. There has to be much more services. I know Shelter Now provides a lot of services, and I think we need to go to the county and get more, because people are going to get hurt, and it's not fair to them, because they're in situations that some of them may not be able to control. So the services need to go to the homeless people, the people that have the problems, and maybe some of them will, be able to climb out of it, and maybe not. But we still need those services to at least try to go to the root of the problem instead of just a Band-Aid situation. So I hope we can try to get that.
Okay, thank you, Beth. Next, go to Franco. What is your stance on the guest shelter being situated behind the library and essentially in downtown Midland?
There is no perfect answer to that one there, but first off, fortunately or unfortunately, the shelters are funded by the county and the property is theirs. They serve a purpose and we can't compel them to move. However, we can ask them to offer services like toilets and day programming rather than dumping their guests onto our downtown core. There is no perfect location for homeless shelter, and ideally all our homeless residents would be in affordable housing. A shelter should be located in and around accessible resources, from employment centers to food. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Frank. Next we go to Matthew. What is your stance on the guest shelter being situated behind the library and essentially in downtown Midland?
We need to have the shelter close to supports, which means often in downtown areas for this population. But we also need to ensure that the public's health and safety is considered. Moving it farther away just moves the current issues to another area. We have a homelessness, drug addiction, and mental health crisis in Midland. We need to ensure that the support system for this population is current and up to date. We can't have holes in the system, so the population relapses and has to start again. If crime rates are increasing, we need to meet this with more enforcement. The solution isn't moving the shelter, it's ensuring our supports are readily accessible.
All right, thanks, Matthew. Next, we'll go to Roberta. What is your stance on the guest shelter being situated behind the library and essentially in downtown Midland?
Yes, thank you. The guest shelter, it's been years since it came on board, and it does mitigate some of the homelessness, but there's not enough beds in that shelter. And it's not, I'm not sure how many beds they have, but I did a tour inside when they first opened, and it's not very big. And it should remain open 24 hours. Although I'm not sure if I think they're locked out during the day. So that's often, if you go park behind the library, you see people lining up, they're all sitting on, you know, whatever, either on the pavement or something. So they should have programs as well to offer the individuals. It's terrible, and we really have to try to do better. Thank you.
Thanks, Roberta. Now it's Jamie Lee. What is your stance on the guest shelter being situated behind the library and essentially in downtown Midland?
The location of the guest shelter is not what needs to be addressed, but the lack of programming and supports put in place for those who reside there. We need better job training and development programs, affordable housing like tiny homes that Bradford has started to pilot on, mental health supports, police presence in the downtown, a place or program for them to go during the day, which was touched on. The County of Simcoe runs it, yes. The list for subsidized housing, though, is 15 plus years long, and we need to offer local supports as well. We as a community should be coming together to address the core issues and solutions, because those don't just go away with a location change.
Great, thank you. Next, go to Glenn. What is your stance on the guest shelter being situated behind the library and essentially in downtown Midland?
When the guest shelter first came up as an issue, 8 years ago, when it was the zoning bylaws were changed in order to accommodate it, I spoke against it then. I did so for a very specific reason. The downtown core, downtown business commercial district, is a rather fragile thing. All of our little businesses support each other. Not one of us are strong enough to be a single attractor. We need each other to attract enough people downtown, and then we literally share the people around us. When you bring in services and businesses and other things that don't fit that model, you are weakening your entire downtown core. And that's why I opposed it in the first place. However, they are there. They're not moving. They've got the zoning. So we have to find a way to deal with the issues that it creates. At the same time, like I said, I want to make sure that the new councils do not allow other similar things to happen that weaken the downtown core. If we want to keep our downtown, we have to actually support it by making sure our zoning stays intact.
Okay. Thank you, Glenn. And now we'll go to Jim. What is your stance on the guest shelter being situated behind the library and essentially in downtown Midland?
Thank you, Peter. The guest house is a needed part of our community. The issues and concerns addressed by local businesses and community members may be more of a discussion than the location. An ad hoc committee working with professionals, business, and BIA could address these concerns and find solutions. During my term as mayor, we formed what we called an SOS team that helped out at the street level to alleviate some of the problems. It was very successful. I would like to see this council consider this approach again.
Thank you, Jim. And finally, we'll go to Sheldon. What is your stance on the guest shelter being situated behind the library and essentially in downtown Midland?
The guest shelter is a fact. Honestly, I would love to see it relocated to one of our empty factories. I do respect and value the volunteer work and giving back to those in need. And I am aware not all guest shelter folks are harassing people downtown. However, that is an ongoing issue. I think downtown merchants and area residents need to report any sort of issues right away to our local OPP so they can start profiling the situations and the people that are becoming a nuisance. I believe there's a program through EIA that should be advertised, which provides street cameras for free to local merchants. I will be doing more research regarding this opportunity. The guest house needs to be accountable and take responsibility for the guests in the shelter and their behaviors in our community. The County of Simcoe should also be overseeing daily operations. I will lobby for that. We need to find a way to provide affordable housing for the people that genuinely need it. There are families staying in these shelters that are overrun with addicts that genuinely need help.
Great, thanks, Sheldon. And thank you. That concludes the questions portion of the meeting. It's now time for the concluding statements from our candidates. You each get 1 minute for this, and we're going to start with Ben. Oh, you got your mute on there, Ben. The mute there.
There we go. Thank you. Just in summation, I'd like to say that Midland is a great community. Recently, Maclean's magazine had ranked Midland out of all of Canada in the top 100 places, great places to live. So it's a lot of things to celebrate and be proud of. As a councillor, I pledge to promote the use of our resources, parks and recreation, support the Midland Public Library, their programs and events, and to work closely with existing community groups to find effective long-term solutions to the problems our community faces. And working together, we can make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Next, we'll go to Bob for a closing statement.
I'm good, right?
Yep, you're good to go.
Okay. In the past, I've been trusted to deal with your concerns with an honest and practical approach to your municipal affairs, performed with diligence and integrity. I'm aware that others in politics make promises, most of which can't be kept. My promise is about you, the ratepayer. I will, on your behalf, tackle all issues and concerns with your interests at the core to get the best possible solution for all ratepayers. I've been married to Sherry Jane for 45 years. We have 4 adult children, 7 grandchildren. My family values honest and down-to-earth practical approach are my trademarks. Please, between October 11th and 24th, vote to elect Bob Jeffrey as your councillor. Remember, you can get assistance to cast your vote at Town Hall any voting day during business hours in the council chambers. Thanks.
Thank you, Bob. Next, we'll go to Catherine for a closing statement.
Thank you. I openly thank the Georgian Bay Chamber of Commerce for hosting this candidate meeting and gathering these thought-provocative questions. I've learned a lot when forming my replies. Campaigning is essentially a long and public job interview for a position that offers a lot of work and sometimes little thanks. Knowing this, I'm still spending countless hours to be elected as on Midland Town Council. As councillor of the town of Midland, I will respectfully serve with purpose, devotions, and truthfulness. I'm asking for your support. As you know, every election is determined by the people who vote. So please exercise your right and be rewarded by electing Katherine Mcdonald, Councillor, Town of Midland. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. And next we'll go to Eric for his closing statement.
I want to thank all the other candidates, wish them all luck going ahead on the election. The only thing I can promise by myself is I'll listen to everyone's concerns, and hopefully if I'm elected to council, I'll bring their concerns to council, and between the people of Midland and Howie Major, we can make Midland better one day at a time. Thanks.
Thanks, Eric. And now to Carol.
Thank you again. I hope that I can continue work before us while getting to know a new council. I remember how overwhelming those first meetings were. So if elected again, I promise to get to know everyone and be supportive and look forward to unique insights and passions. I learned loads, and being new, had to get used to processes, and then whammo, COVID. And we all had to do things differently. So I'm flexible and can learn. I'm sorry for those who felt disengaged and unheard. I pledge to actively listen, be fiscally responsible, support families in all ages and stages. I also want it known that LGBTQS1+ are safe with me. I will happily and with respect work with whomever you vote for, knowing that you exercised your right and made a choice. Any questions, please feel free to text or call me at 705-209-7971 or email Mcginn Carol with an E and ANN @gmail.com. Thank you very much. Best wishes to everyone, and thanks for watching.
Thanks, Carol. Next, go to Bill for a closing statement.
In closing, what matters to me: value for your tax dollar and fiscal responsibility, effective community engagement and full disclosure on Midland Bay Landing, revisiting KPMG report for community savings, exploring environment initiative of UNESCO Geopark, safe and prosperous downtown for all, including tourists, business owners, and staff, solutions for affordable housing and homelessness, supporting recreation investments for all ages, a common sense approach to leadership decision-making, including transparency, public engagement, and approachability. And again, I'm asking for your vote so that I can continue to support Midland in the way it deserves. Vote Meredith for Midland on October 11th through 24th. Thank you very much and good luck to all.
Thank you, Bill. Next we go to Beth.
Thank you. I can tell you what a lot of you already know. I'm honest, I'm approachable, I listen, and I care about Midland residents. I have the last 4 years on council behind me to show that. I come with no false promises. I come with proof that I listen, and I'll always do my best for you. All Midland residents matter to me. I feel honored to have had the last 4 years serving you, and I look forward to 4 more. Re-elect Beth Prost. 705-529-4009 if you want to call me, and I will answer any questions, or email Beth Prost, number 4@gmail.com. And good luck to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Beth. And now it's Franco.
First of all, I want to thank you, the chamber, and my fellow candidates, and you, the people of Midland, for this evening. As an individual, I can't promise to make big changes on my own. It takes a team, but I can promise to listen and bring your voices forward. Vote for leaders who will listen with intent and speak with purpose. Vote Franco Vadalero for town council and let your voice be heard. If you want change, then this is your opportunity to get out and vote and make change. Also, I stand by my notion, new people do equal new results. Cast your vote online, by telephone or in person at the town council on between October 11th through the 24th. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please contact me at 647-782-6237 or via email at fvatalaro, V as in Victor, ATALARO @hotmail.com. Thank you again, and God bless, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Frank. Next we'll go to Matthew.
I want to thank all the candidates for showing interest in representing Midland. I also want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in and educating yourself on all the candidates. You can now make an informed decision on who you want to represent on council. If you haven't seen my campaign video yet, check it out on Facebook. If you do not have Facebook, email me at matt.vaders, VATERS@gmail.com, or I can be reached at 705-527-6817. If you want someone who is transparent, open, and will foster, encourage, and pledge to work collaboratively to make Midland better, vote Matthew Vaders between October 11th and 24th.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Next we go to Roberta. Oh, the mute, Roberta.
Okay. Thank you to all voters who have listened to these discussions. And I can tell you that if I am elected, I will work hard for all Midland residents. I have been a member of several boards and worked well with others. And I see all of the people on the screen here, and there's a lot of very good people. Thank you also to the Southern Georgian Bay Chamber of Commerce for organizing this virtual meeting. Good luck to everyone, and thank you again.
Thank you, Roberta. And now we'll go to Jamie Lee for a closing statement.
I want to thank everyone for their time. I encourage anyone to reach out to me with questions or concerns at any time. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram. My email is jamielee.ball4@gmail.com. My number is 705-937-0731. I am passionate about serving the community, and I want to ensure all voices are heard. I look forward to representing you in this election and hopefully continue to do so for the next 4 years. A vote for me is a vote towards your voice being heard. Let's continue to make our community great. When you start voting on October 11th, vote for Jamie Liebo. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll go to Glenn.
Thank you. You know, I believe in giving back to the community. For the last 24 years, in some capacity or other, I've served on numerous committees, boards. For the last 4 years, I've been on the library board as well as being the chair of the community hydro distribution board. These events, these participation has helped to educate and help me understand some of the issues that our town faces. And I hope to bring that knowledge, that understanding to council in the future. So in this voting cycle, vote Glenn Canning, councillor. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Now we'll move over to Jim.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you again to the Chamber for hosting this event. I would also like to acknowledge everyone that has put their name forward to help in Midland's future endeavors. Best of luck to all in the election. And if elected, I look forward to serving you again for 4 more years with integrity, honesty, and an open mind. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you, Jim. And now to Sheldon for closing statement.
Last thing is I've taken it off-road the whole time. I'm going to do something a little different. In closing, I am genuinely disappointed in the questions offered today. It doesn't touch on the real pandemic, affordable housing, elderly that have been thrown out on the streets, victims of a runaway housing market, increasing the rent so high that our very own elderly families have no choice but to stay in hotels or even worse, tents on our streets. To no fault of their own, these families are losing hope to provide a future for their families in Midland. Elderly are sitting alone in rundown hotels with no hope of ever affording a simple house or even an apartment. Even if they could afford it, there's none available. This isn't a tomorrow problem, it's a today problem, and we have to attend to it. We need to find investors to help build affordable housing immediately. We need to get shovels in the dirt. We need to approach our provincial and federal government and the County of Simcoe to show the unique situation Midland has. If we build affording houses, we can help lift out struggling residents to get back on their feet. So I'm asking you to vote Sheldon East so that I can get started and help our community.
Great. Thanks, Sheldon. And last but not least, Tom.
Okay, if you're watching out there via computer or TV, have your phone ready with your camera open. It may come inconvenient later on in my closing remarks. Starting on October 11th, you have an opportunity to make the most impact in your town by exercising your right to vote. Today, you've heard responses from all candidates on issues. Unfortunately, like Sheldon has mentioned, they're not all the issues. I pledge with you and I plead with you to go out there, continue to get informed and educated on all the candidates' platforms, on all their issues. Go to their website. Here's my email here. Okay, tgardy at tgardy@protonmail.com. I know you can't read that right now, but tgardy@protonmail.com. Also, here is a QRD, but I tried this earlier today. It worked. It's not working right now. You can't see that QRD. I can clearly see that. Anyways, I'm on Facebook, Tom Garzinski. Don't forget the Z, GARDZINSKI. Please visit my website, see all the other issues that I'm speaking about. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much for tuning in. Elect Tom Garzinski for authentic, thoughtful leadership. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Tom. And thank you to everybody. That concludes our evening. I'd like to thank the candidates for attending tonight. Absolutely. And for those tuning in this evening, it proves your political involvement that is so important in our communities. Also, I'd like to ask those watching, and I say this after all candidates meetings, that in the following days before the election, to talk to people who are not listening tonight and who are not here. Ask them to vote and tell them to vote, no matter what side of the fence they're on. What's important is that they exercise their right to vote, and it's best in our community as well. I'd like to thank Kathy at the Chamber, certainly with all her efforts of putting this all together. And of course, the Chamber would like to thank the candidates, again, their teams, their volunteers who have committed time, dedicated so much work in their campaigns. So thank you. This concludes the evening's forum, and thank you for tuning in, and all have a good night. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, all.
Good luck, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Hey.